and it was a term to describe a modern battlefield environment, okay, compared to traditional battlefields, you know, up until World War II, where you had more mechanized warfare. But you notice that in the modern environments, it's much more changeable environment, and things happen much faster, and it's much harder to predict what's going to happen. Why we are now dealing with it is because business leaders rapidly realize that it's a pretty good description of the modern business environment. Yeah? Just think about the stock markets, how volatile they can be. So the VUCA stands for, if I can get it working, VUCA stands for volatility. It's volatile, meaning what?
Changes.
Very, very rapid. Sorry, I'll go through them first. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now let's define the words. Volatility, as you said, rapidly changing, constantly in constant flux. And I think you can describe with political changes, economic changes, geographic, demographic changes, new entrants to the marketplaces, new products on the market, and it happens slowly or fast? Fast. What does that mean for decision making? Fast decision making, but how well are we sure about any decision that we make going forward?
Not much.
Not much. It makes it very uncertain. We're very unsure about the future. It's very hard to predict the outcomes of any plan. So it makes planning really, really difficult. You know, it used to be that we would have a vision going out 30 years, a strategy going 10 years. You know, now we have a vision that may be long-term, but strategy? How far into the future can we reasonably look and plan? You still do plan, but it's not the same as it used to be. It's also extremely complex. Yeah, think about the influences on any stock market, all the different things. Globally, think about your supply chains now versus in the past. Yeah? What that means is it's like a big spider web on top of a spider web. If you change something over here, everything shifts. And it makes it very hard to see cause and effect. You understand? You can, but it requires enormous amounts of data to be able to see cause and effect in this. So there are many, many things interdependent. Okay? And the last one is ambiguity. I'll go back to the stock market about this. Let's imagine you are studying the stock market, right? You decide to make an action within it, and you wait for information or feedback, and you get it, but the problem is you get so much information that it's hard to know what is relevant, how to interpret even the information that we get. Everything could have multiple interpretations when we get feedback, right? And so we have unknown unknowns. There are just many things we don't know, and there can be many interpretations. I don't need you to remember the details of each of them. What does it basically mean? It's a very chaotic, rapidly changing environment where it's very hard to get clear information and know what's the best thing to do, right? In sales, we always know this. We need, in order to make a perfect plan, a perfect strategy for your market, what would you need to make a perfect plan? Perfect information. Are you ever going to have it? No, it's not going to have it. So the question is, how do we respond in that environment, right? We make a plan, and by the time the plan's even being enacted, there's a new entrant on the market, which messes everything up. Because not only are you moving, your competitors are moving, and your customers' tastes are moving, and the technology is changing, right? And all of this makes it very hard to have confidence in what we do. And yet we have to do it, right? The question is, what is the impact on us as individuals when we are faced with this world? What kind of reaction do we have, emotionally or psychologically, to this kind of world? Confusion, depression, panic, slowing down, right? A lot of it has to do with your also personality. If we're very analytical, this can make us extremely crazy, right? Because when you're a very analytical person, when it comes to making a decision, what is it you want?
Information scale.
Data. You want it. And when you don't have the data, what do?
Go get.
You try to find it, which slows down the process. This is what companies do. As a response, what we've noticed is that companies do. They want to have a perfect plan, right? Which is really not possible. So what they do is they try to collect ever more information, which slows a company down. Once they make a plan, they actually believe, therefore, we'll have perfect implementation. To have perfect implementation of a plan, what do you need? What else has to be perfect? All of your resources, your people, everything. And are people perfect?
No, never.
No. So one of the realities is you will never have perfect execution. Ever. Anybody play sport or like sport?
Yeah. So,
Soccer? Football? You're worldwide football, not American football.
cricket.
Cricket. You can have the best plan in the world, but any coach will tell you, every time you run a play, somebody does something slightly up. That's just human nature. So we will never have a perfect plan. And it will never, even if you have it, it will never be perfectly executed. But companies don't like that either. So what is their reaction to that? So we know they try to collect perfect information, slows it down. Because they're worried about poor execution, what do?
Control.
Oh, extraordinary directions. Lots and lots of directions coming. Which then, as you said, everything has to be checked multiple times before you get a product. Micromanagement. And in fact, leaders do it exactly wrong. So very, very often, if it doesn't work, your idea, they will often criticize you for your planning. They'll go back, oh, if you had written a good plan. The problem is you can't write a perfect plan. But let's imagine you had a perfect plan. Imagine. And it was perfectly executed. It's being executed in what kind of environment?
Stable.
Unstable.
Yeah, I mean, it should be stable, but it's unstable.
It's unstable. So you will never have the planned outcomes anyhow, because it's already shifted. Especially because you spent so much time planning and so much time directing, that by now your plan is almost out of date. And so we have the opposite effect. We have the drive, both personally and companies, to have too much information and too much planning, to have too much direction and control, and then too many control mechanisms because we don't like the outcomes. So what happens is many companies spend all their time reporting and planning and no action gets done. A lot of activity, but no action. And so this is why Dadfielder has been very strongly focused on this topic. When the senior management got hold of it, they said, yeah, this is true, and we need to learn how to deal with it. That's part of the reason for the leadership program. We now have a chief agility officer, right, to try and create the culture. And one of the outcomes of that is the discussion of what kind of leadership do we need. But I'd like to start with your brainstorm first. Do we want to use the big ones or do we want to use the small ones? Let's use, small ones?
It's better and more easy to write.
Okay.
We can save on you, Matthew.
Huh?
We can save your paper. So.
Well, okay, so what, any particular color you want?